In our fast-paced lives today, we all want to make positive changes, like getting more exercise, practicing meditation, or reading more books. We often start with enthusiasm and motivation, especially after watching YouTube videos. But sooner or later, our motivation fades in, and we find ourselves giving up on our goals because of the constant demands of our daily routines. If you are also struggling to find a balance between a full-time job, family responsibilities, and your personal goals like reading, writing, exercise, meditation, etc., today's video is for you. Today, I would like to share a technique I found to be extremely helpful for managing all these competing goals. It's called tiny habits. Understanding tiny habits. Tiny habits are very small, easily manageable actions or behaviors that require minimal effort and less time, but can lead to significant personal growth and positive changes in one's life. Let's understand the concept with a real-life success story. Sarah was a 25-year-old recent college graduate who was struggling to make ends meet. She had a full-time job, but she was still living paycheck to paycheck and had no savings. Sarah wanted to get rid of her education loan and build an emergency fund of $1,000, so she decided to save $10 daily. Unfortunately, that didn't work out as Sarah had hoped. Often, she couldn't even save a single penny, let alone $10 a day. Every time Sarah failed because she set a goal that was very big and overwhelming. Her mind was not ready to accept the goal she had set. One day, Sarah was reading an article about the power of tiny habits. Sarah was inspired by the article and decided to start a tiny habit of saving money. Sarah decided to save only $1 instead of $10. She knew that this was a small amount and she could save it without any extra effort. She set up an automatic transfer from her checking account to her savings account every day. There were days when she wanted to skip it, but as the amount was so small, she somehow managed to do it every day. After a few weeks, saving $1 per day became a routine for her. She didn't even think about it anymore. A year later, Sarah saved over $365. This may not seem like a lot, but it was a huge accomplishment for her. She was able to pay off some debt and start building her emergency fund.
When the habit of saving $1 became automatic and without any internal resistance, Sarah decided to increase the amount to $2 per day, and eventually she was successful in paying off her debt. Sarah's story is a great example of how tiny habits can make a big difference over time. If you're struggling with your finances, start by setting a small goal like saving $1 per day. Why tiny habits work so well? Reading one page daily, doing one push-up daily, and doing 2 minutes of meditation daily may not seem like they lead to significant progress, right? The primary goal is not to achieve significant results immediately, but to establish consistency. By reading that one page or taking an equivalent small action each day, you're training your brain to accept this new behavior without overwhelming resistance. Since the expectation is set so low, there's no problem starting the habit. And what happens as a result is that when people engage in the habit for those 2 minutes, they often do a little more afterwards. That's why mini habits work so well. If you don't feel like doing the habit that day, or if you're low on time, you just do the mini version. This way you still get something done, and there's no guilt afterwards. When we're stuck in procrastination or resistance, it's challenging to motivate ourselves to take significant actions. This is where the power of tiny habits comes in. They help us overcome the inertia of starting because they require minimal commitment. Starting is often the most significant hurdle to productivity. Once we begin and gain some momentum, it's far easier to keep going. For example, rather than setting an overwhelming goal like organizing your entire room, start with something easy like making your bed. This initial step makes it much more likely that you'll continue and maybe even find extra motivation to do more organization. Even if you don't, you've still achieved something, which is better than doing nothing. This minimalistic approach tends to yield better long-term results compared to traditional goal setting, which often leads to inconsistency and eventually abandonment. With mini habits, you set small, easily achievable goals with low expectations, ensuring that you can do them every day, even if life gets in the way. This consistency pays off in the long run. I encourage you to apply the concept of mini habits to areas where you often procrastinate. Make the habit so small that starting is very easy, whether it's studying for just 1 minute, doing 1 push-up, or reading 1 page. Remember, objects in motion stay in motion. The motivation to continue will come after starting.